Hello and welcome to Focus 54, your real guide to African news. My name is Jeffrey Murimbechi. Once again, we're out of the studio because Africa is moving and there's so much that is going on. And just to keep abreast with this, we've taken some time with the crew and we thought, why don't we get to the streets of Harare and find out what is the big buzz and why is everyone excited about the new roads? Right behind me is a road that leads into what you call 2nd Street Extension, and it goes all the way until the new parliament. And the big buzz is that Zimbabwe will be hosting the SADC Summit in August, and a lot of new roads and refurbishments have been made. Later on, we will be speaking to the man that is in charge, who's been tasked by the government of Zimbabwe to run transport and infrastructure development, that is Honorable Minister Felix Mhona. And we did take some time to go all the way. We will take some time to go into his office. As you can feel behind me, there is a lot of hustle and buzz in the street of Harare. And right behind me, the tar looks absolutely immaculate, brand new, if you could say that. And there is some method behind the madness of people trying to have over 900 kilometers of brand new road and refurbing the roads that have already been existing. And we'll dig deeper into that as we get into the second and third segment. You might be wondering, for those of you who are probably the same age as me, you might be wondering, when was the last time you saw so many cranes up in the cities of Harare, so many cranes all over? Now, the man behind that will be telling us why the Zimbabwean government is investing billions of dollars ahead of this SADC Summit, as well as the Vision 2030, which is to have an upper middle class economy. Now, before we do that, we have to get straight into some African news. And African leaders were summoned and came together at the South Korea Africa Summit, in which lots of African leaders came through. Now, you might be wondering, why are African leaders being asked to re-engage with the various markets across the world? Well, the idea behind all of this is the fact that Africa is the final frontier. It is the hub of resources, mines, with the greatest young population in the entire world. And this continent is strive. And our president, Comrade Honorable Emerson Mnangagwa, was there, and he was part of the delegation speaking on behalf of Zimbabwe, and Zimbabwe being one of the stalwarts and leaders in terms of infrastructure development, and the Second Republic leading and heading all of the things that are happening there. Now, still with African news, last week we did talk about the South African election, the much contested South African election, and our expert in studio had predicted that the ANC of South Africa will have a majority, but this was not the case, as it is now a four-horse race with the newest party, Mkhonto weSizwe, MK, led by former President Jacob Zuma, as one of the parties that have at least more than 10% of a stake. And South Africa is headed towards a coalition government, which will see a different structure of their government. How this will be structured is mostly determined by the ANC, but this is not the first time that South Africa has had a coalition government. The first time this has happened, it was led by the late Tata Nelson Mandela between 1994 and 1997. But these were the teething ages of democracy in a country that was laden and burdened by atrocities such as the apartheid regime. But now, give us your thoughts and comments on our Facebook page, and as we give you this program live, on what do you think will be the ideal structure? Will it be a structure that heavily involves the IFP, the DA, the MK, the EFF, or the ANC? But this is the new structure of how South Africa will be having its governance. And as Focus 54 will be looking in months and episodes to come, and we'll be reaching out to various experts and finding out what this means for our economy as Zimbabwe, what this means for the region, especially as we head to the SADC region. Now, we've got some good news in Central Africa. Normally on Focus 54, we are talking about the conflict zones and the conflict that is happening there. But there is something that the production team has come up with. And this is an interesting phenomenon. Imagine if you don't go to the library and the library comes to your community. Now, this is exactly what is happening in the Democratic Republic of the Congo in something that is called the katibas, a word that comes from the Swahili language, and it talks about a bus. Now, this is an initiative that is coming from the French institution of Bukavu in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, where students and those that are thirsty for knowledge were struggling to have access to libraries. And this institution has come up with a very innovative way to get libraries put onto buses, libraries put onto different mobile units, and they get straight to the readers. Now, how cool is that? Maybe these are some of those things that we need to duplicate and spread across Africa. Now, we turn our attentions to our main agenda today. What is happening in Southern Africa? How is Zimbabwe, at the very center of the SADC region bloc, going to be the hub of infrastructure development, the information highway, the trade highway for the SADC region? For Focus 54, we take a short break, and right after this, we'll get into the minister's office and ask him, what exactly are you doing for Zimbabwe, and what exactly are you doing for SADC? Welcome to the second segment of Focus 54. I'm sure you've seen the cranes are up in most parts of the country, and we've got the earth moving machines, and people are scurrying, busy making roads and all of that. And there is one man who is tasked with supervising and making sure that that goal is achieved, as Zimbabwe will be hosting the SADC Summit in Harare in August. We are actually joined by Honorable Minister Felix Mhona, who is the Minister of Transport and Infrastructure Development in the government of Zimbabwe. Honorable Minister Felix Mhona, welcome to Focus 54.
Thank you, Jeff.
Honorable Minister, I know you're a man who is very busy, and today we didn't find you in your usual work suit and helmet. But we've seen a lot of infrastructure development, roads, housing, bridges, just to name a few, ahead of the SADC Summit in Zimbabwe. How are these projects aligning with the country's long-term economic developments?
Thank you so much, Jeff. And let me also hasten to thank His Excellency Comrade Dr. Emmerson Mnangagwa, our great leader, who is championing this massive infrastructure rehabilitation program that you're witnessing in the country. And in any given economy, what you need to do first is to make sure that your roads are trafficable, they are navigable, and they are also connecting to the neighboring countries. And this is where we are getting this roadmap, where we need to rehabilitate our roads, not only the roads, we also need to connect the rail, the air, and the water bodies. So this is what is under the Ministry of Transport.
Wow. So what you're saying is it's not only for Zimbabwe, but for the region. Now, still in that spirit of mind, how much are we investing in these infrastructure upgrades, and what are the returns for us as we link with other countries within the region?
Thank you so much, Jeff. This is quite a capital-intensive sector when you talk of infrastructure development. And it's unfortunate, again, as a country, Zimbabwe, under very punitive, illegal sanctions imposed on us, where we have to resource mobilize domestically, unlike in other jurisdictions where you tap into concessionary loans, for instance, the World Bank, the IMF, but we are managing with our own resources. When you talk of a simple road, a kilometer would cost maybe 1.2, 1.3 million US dollars. Wow. And imagine with the road network that we are talking about, which is close to 90,000 kilometers in the country, and you find that it will be very heavy on the country. But alas, we are managing, and we've been tapping into the fiscus. We've been doing triple P arrangements. We've been doing the BOT arrangements. So it's to make sure that we invite and also enable the private sector to partake in the infrastructure rehabilitation program. But what is exciting is that given the neighboring countries that we have in the strategic position of the country is amazing, which we must also thank the Almighty, that we are strategically positioned as a country, and you find that even if you want to link other SADC countries, Zimbabwe will be the best option to those who are into logistics. So I'm happy that the connectivity that we are earmarking as a country will then enable business to flow within the region.
Now, we have always spoken about the vision of His Excellency, our President, in terms of infrastructure development. You've spoken about quite a lot of work that is being done. Timelines are very difficult to be specific, but let's talk about the vision and how we see ourselves positioned within the region. You did talk about us being strategically positioned, and I'm sure you've spoken about billions of dollars that have been invested already. What is the vision going into 2030 and beyond?
Thanks, Jeff. You know, even biblically, if you go to Hosea, it talks about people perishing because of lack of knowledge. And we are saying as a country, what we need, we now have a roadmap, and we have the radar being His Excellency Comrade Dr. Emmerson Mnangagwa, who is now championing the development. And if you would see in the manner in which we are rehabilitating our road, it means for the past 20 or so years, where if you would cite an example, in our cities, we didn't see any earth-moving machines, which is happening now. But roads were supposed to be maintained, and roads were not being maintained. But now, because we now have the 2030 agenda, and this particular ministry falls under infrastructure utilities and utilities, where we are saying in order to achieve the Vision 2030 agenda, we need to move with speed in terms of rehabilitating our roads. And not only the roads, like I indicated, other ancillary supporting services, so that at the end of the day, we develop a country that we want. So in terms of His Excellency Comrade Dr. Emmerson Mnangagwa's vision, that's where we are actually pursuing in terms of making sure that we achieve, we give the citizenry trafficable roads, we give industry connectivity, we will also give neighboring countries connectivity.
Now, the Second Republic has been very steadfast in re-engagement with not only international partners, but regional partners. Zimbabwe as the big brother in terms of infrastructure development within the region and Africa as a whole. Have we given notes to other African nations who are envying what we are doing?
Precisely, Jeff, and even those who are actually coming into the country, they'll be mesmerized even if they land at RGM International Airport. They are wondering how we are managing. Imagine if you see our airport can compete regionally and internationally. Not only that, the advent of the Mbudzi interchange that will actually be happening soon, you'll see that at the end of the day, it is going to compete favorably within the region and second after South Africa, maybe. But you'll see those are some of the infrastructure projects that we are pursuing as a ministry. And if you cite even the Beitbridge border post, which is quite immaculate in terms of its architecture and the designs that you'll see, and the separation of traffic that we're witnessing, where people used to queue for weeks. Now they can actually, within 3 hours, they are across borders. So at the end of the day, we are managing as a country to make sure that our projects that will give us, in terms of posterity, when people are gone, we also need to be remembered by some of these mega projects that we are taking.
Well, we're going to take a short break, Honorable Minister, because as you've seen, he's quite a busy man who is always moving from border to border. And unlike some of us who like to fly across different parts of the country, he actually drives on the roads that he's building. And we'll find out a little bit more about why these roads developments and this infrastructure will make your life and mine much easier. Welcome back to Focus 54, the third and final stretch. And as we've been listening to the minister and telling us what is planned for the region and what is planned for the neighboring countries and us as Zimbabweans. Now, Honorable Minister, we might be talking about the developments now, but we came from, I would say, a few difficult times. For the motorists that you've been working with and those that use these important highways, especially the Beitbridge border post, prior to the new roads and the developments that you've made, what were some of the challenges that truck drivers and those in the logistics business were facing?
Thank you so much, Jeff. That's an important question, which is very pertinent. And if you remember driving, it was quite chaotic coming from Bay Bridge in terms of the time that you'll take at the border post. Because if you are into logistics, you want to, one, is to use the shortest possible distance, and also in terms of cost implications, so that you don't waste time waiting. And people were queuing at Bay Bridge border posts, and the danger, the road carnages that you were witnessing along that particular road, because it was narrow. We're talking of a 7-meter road, but now this is a 12.5-meter road. And we've started dualizing again from Harare. We've done 36 kilometers again, which is the long-term strategy of the ministry to dualize right up to Bay Bridge. But now, in terms of the connectivity, even if you are going through Kazungula, as others might say, if you would use from Durban to via Kazungula, you would be even exceeding with over 200 kilometers going to Zambia, for instance. Shorter if you would use the Bay Bridge border post. So we are connecting the Bay Bridge border post, and now we are starting to do the Chirundu highway, which is the complete stretch of the road. So it means now if you then move from Bay Bridge, Harare to Chirundu, and Chirundu will soon be starting again refurbishing the Chirundu border post. But not only that, all our connecting border posts, we are talking of Nyamapanda, we are talking of Forbes. These are our main gateways. And we are seized now as we speak in terms of rehabilitating so that we mirror what we have at Forbes. But the good thing in business, Jeff, is we, not only that, but our great leaders again, within the SADC, they've actually said, yes, as we are gravitating toward the SADC Summit, then they will see how easy and how we can actually enable ease of doing business. And you see some great strides in that regard. And not only that, they are advocating for the African Continental Free Trade Area, which is a single market again for our goods within the Great Africa. And we are talking of the 55 countries in that region. Not only that, we also have to link again in terms of airspace. And we also have what we call a SATIM, which is a single African air transport market, which is a single window again, where we are trying to reduce the barriers in terms of flying between one African country to another, so that when you are traveling from here to Senegal, you don't need to go out of Africa to go back to Senegal. We are saying in terms of restrictions, in terms of the 50 freedom rights, where you drop and pick passengers, this window will be enabling that, Jeff.
I believe that the Honorable Minister has been watching Focus 54 because for months we've been complaining about that. I think it's rather odd that it's cheaper to sometimes fly to Dubai than to go to Sierra Leone. Now, with all of these structures put in place, you did talk about the business element. With the SADC Summit coming through, is this not the opportune time for us to leverage stronger business ties within the region and beyond?
Definitely, Jeff, and even the forefathers of this great African continent were advocating for this, so that we need to unite and have one common goal in terms of what we want to achieve for our people. And I'm sure this forum will be a good platform to continuously engage, because we talked of the SATAM, which has got about 37 countries. It means we also have outstanding countries that are not yet members to that very noble cause. But these initiatives now, when the great leaders come together during SADC, people then see that a number of deals will be actually structured so that we say Africa is our continent and we must be proud of it.
Now, Honorable Minister, before I let you go, sustainability is one of the key pillars of Vision 2030. For those that have been wondering if we'll be able to maintain these roads, is there a plan to maintain this infrastructure? Because after looking at the wonderful airport renovations and all of these roads, bridges, just to name a few, is there a plan to maintain these beautiful structures?
Another very pertinent question, Jeff. And if you look at the composition of the ministries in place, and those who work under the purview of His Excellency Comrade Dr. Masoda Mnangagwa, we have monitoring and evaluation. And if you see that the idea and the essence of monitoring and evaluation is to make sure that whatever we start, we maintain. Which is culturally we lack there as Africans, where we have something that is magnificent, but we don't maintain it. But I'm happy that whatever we are building, we have modalities in place to make sure that we continue maintaining. And for instance, under the transport, we are reviving the maintenance units, where you would see that we'll be attending to any developments within our roads so that we attend with speed. And these are some of the mitigating factors to hedge on what you have just posed. But what is exciting, we also have Zinara in place, where we are saying continuous funding of our projects is what we are happening. So again, to the motoring public, whatever you are paying through your toll gates, we need also to account and make sure that we continue rehabilitating roads. And some of the roads that were not under the purview of the ministry, we have started taking those over, and that's why you've seen us descending in the great city, for instance, Harare, Blawayo, rehabilitating roads, not necessarily saying they were under a separate, different road authority, but the idea is we want good infrastructure at the end of the day.
And I'd also like to thank you for, sometimes we'll wait for the minister to say this, but we've seen local craftsmen, we've seen local companies working on these roads and maintaining them. Now, before I let you go, what are your final words to those that are watching us across all 54 countries, as well as those that are watching us locally ahead of the SADC Summit and as we reach our goal of Vision 2030?
Thank you so much, Jeff. And I'm actually moved as an African to say, if you want to demonstrate love, you must have it yourself and you give it to others. And at times, the way we demonize ourselves is a worrisome development. But we need to believe in ourselves. And in terms of us achieving, we've seen it within the advent of the Second Republic, that we can do it. But what is also of paramount importance is whenever we embrace that spirit, it means we'll then have that brotherly love, even within the neighboring countries, where you would see that in terms of sharing, it could be the infrastructure sharing. We need these gateways. We need the corridors so that we enable business to flow within the great SADC region. So I'm happy that with the advent of SADC region, the spirit of our great leaders must permeate to us, to right to the grassroots, so that we must focus and have a robust, vibrant African continent that can stand on its own and defend itself.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. And as we lead up to the SADC Summit and beyond, we will make sure that every now and then we will grab him from his very busy schedule. But this is another interesting episode of Focus 54. Tune in and make sure you like and share this episode on all social media platforms. And you can start by watching it live on our ZBC Facebook page, which is ZBC News Online, as well as our YouTube page, and spread the message across all 54 countries.